might be feeling frustrated because no matter how many times you set health goals, like losing weight, getting stronger, or eating better, you fall off track within weeks or months. And you're not alone. Millions of people start with the best intentions, but vague goals, unrealistic expectations, or lack of urgency leave them right back to where they started. But what if the problem isn't you, but the way you're setting your goals? What if just a few shifts in how you approach them can mean the difference between quitting or creating lasting results you can be proud of? Today, I'll show you the three biggest mistakes people make when setting health goals, and more importantly, how to avoid them so you can finally stick with your plans and actually see results you've been chasing. You might be feeling frustrated because no matter how many times you set health goals, like losing weight, getting stronger, or better, or eating better, you fall off track within months. And you're not alone. Start with Millions of people start with the best intentions, but vague goals, unrealistic expectations, or lack of urgency leave them right back where they started. But what if the problem isn't you, but the way you're setting your goals? What if just a few shifts in how you approach them could mean the difference between quitting or creating lasting results you can be proud of? Today, I'll show you the three biggest mistakes that people make when setting health goals, and more importantly, how to avoid them so you can finally stick to your plan and actually see the results that you've been chasing. Hey guys, Jeremy here, and back with another video. And today I wanted to discuss the downsides when it comes to setting goals and why people struggle when it comes to meeting their goals. And it could be one of these three things. Today we'll be covering my experiences when it comes to setting goals, especially when it comes to your health. I know this is just based off of my experiences and my opinions on why people fail when it comes to meeting their goals. So let's get into it. And hopefully, this will benefit you and help you move you forward when it comes to achieving what you want when it comes to your health. So, the first thing that I find that people do, and I see this a lot, and you may see this too, or maybe you're guilty of a general thing when it comes to goal setting overall. And number one is the goal is too vague and you're not specific enough and you don't put enough urgency on it. When it comes to somebody setting goals and it being too vague, what do I mean by that? When you've been going to the gym as long as I have, you notice that, or I've noticed that at the beginning of every year or the end of the year, they'll come up with the New Year's resolution. So the reason why they're called New Year's resolutioners is because they'll set a goal at the end of the year. Usually it's December, or they'll decide sooner than that. But they'll be like, in January, I'm gonna start working out again, or it could be like get in shape, or next year I wanna lose a few pounds. What tends to happen is that they'll start with the gym membership and then they'll start working out in January, maybe week one or week two. And then by the time March comes around, they're not there anymore. So that's why I do very much dislike the New Year's resolutioners. Not necessarily them themselves, it's just the gym was so crowded in January because of all these people making New Year's resolutions that they want to get in shape, or they want to get back into the gym, or they want to get back to working out. And by the time March rolls around, the gym is back to the same normal people that you see all the time. Maybe there'd be some that stick around, but the majority of them would be flushed out by then, and then the gym would be back to normal crowds. Reason for that is the New Year's resolution. That's their way of setting the goal, and then that is a vague goal in my opinion. Because a lot of times what they'll set is that, oh, I just want to get back to the gym, I just want to get back to working out, but they're not real specific. And even when it comes to losing weight, they'll just be like, oh, I just want to lose a few pounds sometimes. They won't even give a specific number, like 5 or 10 pounds. But even when you set a specific number, like a lot of them, there's no real urgency behind the goal that they set. And that is an important factor when it comes to achieving your goals. It's because there has to be a sort of a sense of urgency that if you do not get this done, a lot of them would be like, I just feel like doing this just because I want to get in shape again or just because I want to do this. But there's no real substance behind why they really want it. There's no consequence really tied to them not achieving the goal. For example, when it came to me, the reason why I started in the first was because I don't want to be, my doctor threatened me to be on medication. She said, if you don't shape up, then I'm going to put you on cholesterol medication. I was like, Kate, don't want that. So what do I need to do? Right? It's not the I've lost weight in my life. I've done it multiple times. So I knew that I could do it. But it's just a matter of like, what was I gonna do to get it done? Right. And force, right, was to not be on cholesterol medication because I had to do something to get my weight back down, get back into better shape and thrive at doing it. A lot of people make New Year's resolutions. There's really it's that's just all it is. It's one, it's really vague. Two, it's there's no like urgency or no consequence if you don't succeed. Right? A lot of them is like, oh, it would be nice to do this, not I have to do this, or this will happen. So where a lot of people fall short when it comes to vague goals. And another thing when it comes to vague goals is that like the intention that you set behind it is not there. Because especially when you don't have a clear answer on how you're going to do it, that those answers come to is based on how much you actually really want to accomplish it. So a lot of times if the goal is not specific enough or you don't have that drive to accomplish it, then like the way that you accomplish it, those things won't come to you. Times maybe you not have an idea of how you're going to do it, but you want to get it done so badly that the answer just kind of shows up on its own. That's another thing when it's not having the vague goal or the consequence of not achieving it. So those are the couple of things when it comes to when it comes to your goal setting that you want to keep in mind of what will may help make you successful versus being unsuccessful is keep in mind the New Year's resolutioner. How their mindset is getting in shape or losing a few. There's really no real intention behind it. That they just end up going back to just doing what they normally did in the first place. So reason why, because there was no real substance to why they wanted to lose in the first place. So something to keep in mind. Okay, and second reason is so I just said two is too vague, and then another reason for is it's one either it's too unrealistic or and too specific, and I'll go into that because I just said that not being too vague is not a good thing, but also being too specific is not a good thing as well. Okay, so when it comes to you're too specific, now I'm not a big believer in having a set target. And what I mean by that is that, somebody saying, I want to get to a body fat percentage or a specific body fat percentage, whether you want to get to 10%, 12%, and then somebody that specific sets a specific weight, right? Like whether it's, if you're 250 pounds and you want to 185 pounds or 175 pounds and you get to a specific weight. The reason why I wouldn't recommend that, the reason why I think that that's not really a good strategy is because if what happens when you hit that specific target, if you have a set goal and it's like basically it's set to a specific target, what do you think will happen once you reach it? Like, do you think that you're going to likely to continue doing what you were doing to reach that goal, or are you going to stop doing what you're doing and then just go right back to what you were doing before? Right. And the reason why I say a specific target number is not necessarily the best strategy is because you're more once you've hit your target, you're more likely to revert back to your old habits once you get there because you're going to be shooting for that number and once you get there you're done, right? Like because think about it when you're working say if you're a house and your goal was to finish building the house, once you're done building the house, what are you going to do? You're going to go and move on to building the next house, right? So you're not going to continue building that same house or continue maintaining that house all the way through till you know whenever, right? When the house is ready to be rebuilt again. So what I'm saying is that you want to have a goal set with intermediate targets, but you want it to be a goal to where the goal, like the finish line, will keep moving as you progress throughout your goal, right? As you get better, you want it to keep continually evolve and continually move. For example, the way you want to think about it is it's you're running a marathon, but the finish line keeps moving. So as you can see, the finish line, the goal or the finish line is no longer the same finish line. It'll move further along. And for example, for me, that I want to stay off the medication, right? So it's not about just not getting on the medication, it's staying off of it as well, right? So which means that I cannot get my numbers down low enough and then just go back to what I was doing before, which got me to the point where cholesterol was high, where my doctor was going to put me on medication. So if I want to continually stay off of medication, I have to continually keep my numbers down. So the goal never is not set. It's not set in stone to that's the specific number. There is a number, there's a target, but I have to keep it there. So that goal keeps on going. So if that makes sense, thing, right? You don't want to say specific target, like say like even like a certain body percentage. Once you get down to the 12% or the 10% and you hit that target, you're more than likely to stop what you're doing to get. So what I'm talking about is the having a goal that is set to have milestones and targets to hit, but the long term goal with long term sustainability in mind, that it kind of a goalpost or the finish line keeps moving along the way as you get to those checkpoints, so that you can then maintain what you've started to begin with. And when it comes to unrealistic goals, you're like, and I understand this, like, because like a lot of us buy media, social media, on these that we're on these days, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, these people, and then all talking about, or they're showing us what they do and they're at, but and then thinking that we have to be like them, which that's not necessarily 100% realistic for a person to be able to do what these influencers do, because realistically, I'm 43 going on 44 this year. It's unrealistic for me to expect be able to do something to myself that someone who is in their early 20s does, right? And be able to do it in the way and the fashion that they do it. So you got to have that kind of perspective in your mind that you're of a certain age, you're likely not going to be able to achieve what a 20-year-old did, or even a 30-year-old, right? If you're in your 40s, in your 40s and above, right? So you have to be realistic about your expectations, because setting unrealistic expectations, and that's what I mean by unrealistic goal setting, is that you're setting yourself up for an unrealistic outcome, because you're having expectations of yourself from somebody who's less than half your age, and they have certain advantages being that age to be able to get to those types of goals that they're able to, or achieve the type of body composition, or achieve the type of health and vitality that somebody who is 20 years older. So you got to kind of keep that in perspective, right? That you see is going to be achievable in the way that is presented to you, especially on social media, because you don't really see what they actually do on the other side of the camera, right? Yes, you can achieve a lot of those things, but I want to keep it in a perspective that you're not playing in the same type of game that they are, right? It's like the difference between being in the minor leagues, right? Like being in a show, you're going to be peak form, and somebody in the minor leagues is kind of working up towards that peak form. Not even ever really get there, right? So you got to kind of understand where you're at. Being able to achieve certain things comes to, where expect to be, have like the movie star body, because stars movie star bodies, because they have the resources and the funding and the stuff to get them to that level, which for a lot of normal people, not realistic, right? I'm not saying not achievable, but it's for the majority, it's not realistic. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Okay, so one last thing I wanted to talk about today when it comes to goal setting. A way to achieve your goal and maintain that long term is not necessarily so much what you have to do to get there, right? So what I want you to concentrate on or think about is, okay, what is my target, right? And then do I have to become to achieve that goal, right? So it's like, who do I need to be by the end of this journey? And then be that now. So that's kind of what I want you to kind of about as like what person do I become to achieve my goal? And that is the best formula for long-term success. And what you want to do is you want to think and be that person now, right? So, like when you're thinking about your health, think of your healthy friend or think about that healthy person that you see on the internet and just be like, okay, who do I have to be this person? Because the person that you are now is not going to be the same person you are when you achieve the goal, right? So what you want to do is you want to be that person at the word. You want to be the end state person you are and be that person now. And then eventually the doing and then having will happen. So what you want to do is go through an exercise and ask yourself, okay, what are the traits in a healthy person? And how would they live their lives? And then you got to kind of work through that exercise yourself and then write those things down. Like, hey, this is the person that I be in order to achieve my goal. And then you have to be that person now because a lot of times when this too, because a lot of times what happens is that people will make the changes that they need to make to achieve the goal, and then once they hit their goal they go right back to the old person that they were. That's why you know they call it yo-yo dieting, or lose all this weight and then you go right back to the weight that you had, or even worse after that, once you've achieved your goal, because you just go back to being the same person you were before you started your journey. So, what you want to do by the end is you want to be somebody completely different here. So you want to actually change yourself to be completely different than who you are now. And by the time you get to that being that person, you're going to be so different that your health will be so much different that it'll be easier for you to maintain because you're just a different person overall than who you were before. You're going to be this healthy version of you that you envisioned, and the old you, unhealthy you, is just going to dissolve and go away, and you're just this person from now on. So that is a little technique that will help you when it comes to achieving your long-term goals and it comes to your health. Okay, then that is all that I have for you today. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully I didn't confuse you because I didn't have anything to keep me on track. So I am a trained life coach and I am working on getting my ICF certification, trained in the area of NLP. If you are somebody that is looking to get clear on your goals and what it is that you want to achieve, then I can definitely help. So I'll email down in the description below. You can contact me or leave a comment down below. And hopefully this helps you on the mistakes that people do when they set goals on their fitness or their health life. And if you want some help with, I can help you achieve that. So that's all I got for you today. Until next time, see you in the next one.